Going to part 4 for module 2 of MAT0028, we are solving linear inequalities. You essentially are going to do the same exact steps as you would do for a linear equation, except for if you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the direction of your inequality. If you multiply or divide by a negative, you must flip the direction of the inequality. That's the key. We're still going to clear fractions first. We're still going to get our variables on one side, but I like to always move my variables to the left so that it's easier to graph the solution at the end. So we're going to start with number 18. Again, my goal is to get x by itself. There is no fractions here, so my goal is to get the x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. I am not changing the direction of the inequality because I'm adding and subtracting. So negative 5 plus a negative 3 is a negative 8. That's it. You've now solved. By putting the variable on the left-hand side, we are back to what we did in the module 1. We are graphing. Negative 8 is my boundary. We are not including it. Greater than means shade to the right. So I have an open at negative 8, and I am shading all the way through the arrow on the right-hand side. Going to number 19. Again, pause these at any time, and please try to work through them yourself before you listen. My goal is to get x by itself, so I'm going to have to divide by a negative 8 because it's being multiplied by x. This is really important. You have now divided by a negative number. So you will always see me write the word flip, so it reminds me that this becomes a greater than or equal to. The x stays because those cancel. 40 divided by negative 8 is still going to be a negative number, just as we've done before, and it should give me a negative 5. But if you do not flip the direction of your inequality, it is an incorrect problem. We now look at where our boundary is, which is negative 5. There is an equal to on this problem, so we're going to close, and greater than means shade to the right. Going to number 9, we're getting to a little bit more complicated, but still same steps. My goal is to solve for x. So I need those x's on the same side, and I recommend you always move your variables to the left because it makes it easier to graph at the end of the problem. So I'm subtracting 3x. That's going to give me 6x minus 7 is less than 5. I'm going to now add 7 to move my constants to the right-hand side. So I get 6x is less than 12. My last step here is to divide both sides by that coefficient of 6. I am not flipping the direction of the inequality because I divided by a positive number. So my answer there is x is less than 2. My boundary for this problem is 2. I have an open because it's not included, and I'm shading to the left. So going to our last one for this type, again, what is my goal? My goal is to get my variable by itself. I still strongly recommend, for the graphing reasons, to always move your variable to the left-hand side. Yes, it will give you a positive if you move to the right, but it's not going to be easy to graph it at that point. So I get 4 minus 9, which is going to give me a negative 5x. Is greater than or equal to 30. I need to divide by a negative 5, which means flip because I divided by a negative. So this becomes a less than or equal to. 30 divided by negative 5 gives me a negative 6. Graphing this piece, my boundary is negative 6, and it's included, and I'm shading to the left-hand side. So my last piece here I want to just mention here real quick is what happens if you did move your variable to the left-hand side or to the right-hand side. You would have gotten, for this problem, you would have gotten this. Negative 6 is greater than or equal to x. And that's actually equivalent. That is an okay answer, but it's hard to graph it. So if you ever get your variable on the wrong side, realize you can rewrite it. And what I like to tell my students is whatever way the mouth is facing when you rewrite it, it should still face it. And what I mean by that is this mouth is facing the negative 6. So when I rewrite it, it should still be facing the negative 6. Because I'm not changing directions here. I'm just changing what the order that I'm writing this in. So x, if I read this from right to left, x is less than or equal to negative 6, which is what I wrote down there in green.